You and
Okay.
I were working yesterday on our presentation for Agile and Beyond. I thought we should talk about it a little bit, maybe live and on the air, just to put us really on the spot.
Yeah, and the thing that showed up on probably more slides throughout the presentation was the word alignment. It seems like underlying everything that we do, whether even you could argue whether it's agile practice or intentional culture or whatever modern management technique is being employed. Um, what
So,
underlies it is alignment.
do you remember the name of the presentation you sold to Agile and Beyond that you're delivering in Detroit?
Yes, intentional culture, colon, the next big thing, question mark.
So you actually coined this word, intentional culture,
I
and
didn't.
you when you and I were having. I mean, other people have used it, but you
Yeah,
you coined it for you and I because we were talking about what we most wanted to do, and we were slightly concerned that Agile wasn't carrying the weight or moving emotionally in the direction that either you or I wanted to move in.
yeah. I've gotten trouble for saying this before, but when I look at the Agile Manifesto and Scrum and all the things that the artifacts of the original thinking, they're all very team based. And as people have tried to adapt the concepts behind it to organizations, I think they've floundered because there really isn't a framework. They're just making it up as they go along, and some are better at it than others.
We realized is it wasn't so much about just helping a team be dramatically more productive, which we love doing, but it was really about creating the culture of the whole organization so that they have better outcomes, they have more fun doing it, it's easier, they can focus their energy on the things that really are going to make them money or are there bliss or are there calling or are there pain or their suffering, whatever it is that's driving them to start something. We want to support that. And to you and I, and you brought up the term thinking about intention, and I just liked it. I was like, what maps most to my experience at Menlo was we were very intentional about how we wanted the culture to evolve and to work. Uh, and very intentional about how we wanted the people to work to achieve those outcomes.
It's funny because I think about like the thought process that led me to that. The genesis of it is that, if you look at the typical history of a startup, it starts out with a small handful of people, maybe five, maybe 10, whatever the number is. It's a small group of people that the founders, whether it's one person or a few people, can have their hands in everything. And everyone's intense on making progress and getting things done. And there's no bureaucracy. There's very few obstacles to making progress at that stage. There's not a lot of communication problems because everybody knows everything all the time. And and what
Because
happens
there,
is
because
if you're
there's three of you or four of you.
right,
It's like, and you're working
exactly,
together in a garage around a table. I mean, it's
right.
very,
And if you're successful, you either start getting generating revenue or you get more funding from outside, capital to grow. And whatever that form that takes, the next step is to grow fast. You have to grow fast. And and so at that juncture, at that moment, you've been operating in a way that will somewhere along the way, maybe not in the first month or the second month, but somewhere along the way, you'll get so big that that original mode of operation no longer works. And your choices are to just let happen what happens. And what will happen is whoever you hire who has the strongest personality will will set the culture. Whoever's got the strong personality, who has the most influence, will decide the environment that people work in. And it and as Chris Vestal, who I was just talking to, would say, cultures are emergent. You don't you know, he was arguing we can't have an intentional culture because they're emergent. Well, you can have both. You can have an emergent culture that has been guided on a specific journey in a specific way, or you can just let it happen however it's going to happen. They're both emergent, but you know, you're giving one a clearly defined starting point, and the other one you're just letting happen however it happens.
That's an interesting, right? Because I know, and it's probably from Chris, but I think I've heard other people talk about, culture is only what emerges. And I'm like, sort of, but you created one of the first, if not the first, internet company in Michigan and built it up and sold it. And I helped create Menlo. You and I have built things from the ground up. I mean, we've lived these experiences many times. You and I have built multiple companies from the ground up. So it's like, yes, it's always emergent. Aspects of it are emergent, but aspects of it can be highly designed. If you think it only is emergent, that's just sad. Like you don't think intention or will has any effect on culture? Of course it does. It has a profound effect on culture, and it can really define, drive, and shape it. And so you were saying in our presentation, so what you and I want to do is work with companies that specifically are young and growing and who are like, hey, we can see our culture is changing in ways that maybe we don't like, or we are at the next round of funding and we know operations should be better because if operations get better, we get better valuations and better funding rounds. And like we see all of these things serving very specific needs, building a place you want to work, but also being intentional about how you work so that you get better outcomes, so that the investors believe in you more. They can see. I still remember one CEO of a company. This was a long time ago, one of the first times I did an intentional and culture engagement, which was like 25 years ago. And the CEO going, I didn't know exactly what you were doing and how you were building the products, but I could tell that you knew. And I could come in and occasionally give guidance in a real way. And then I could go work on the other things I needed to do to exit the company, right? He was looking to sell the company. And it's like when you get the culture working, when you get, I call it the engine room working of a business, in terms of if you're building software, that just is seamless and it works. If you're doing something else, that's seamless, that it works. Uh, Leadership can go do what leadership really needs to do, which is envisioning the future of the business,
Yeah.
not managing the day to day, keep the lights on.
For sure. And I would add, by the way, that the other stakeholder here is the mezzanine funders of these businesses who may see a lot of potential in the products or services, the marketplace that for what they're doing and the leadership and their potential, but recognizes that the people involved don't have the experience to guide an organization through growth. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not an important thing to have, and very often the options that investors have is it, to superimpose, like maybe they have somebody that they a consultant that they use that they put in as the interim CEO or COO, and they say we're going to take this person who knows what they're doing and how to scale a company, and we're going to implant them in the organization and have them help with this thing. Um, what we're doing is different. We're saying, no, let's just work with the people that are there and let's help them build the company that they want and guide them to build the organizational structure and culture that they want, that they design, but let's help them design it in a way that's
Yeah.
sustainable and scalable.
So when we started, before we set the context, you talked about the most common thing in our presentation that we're going to be giving on intentional culture at Agile and Beyond this year. The theme that came up in the most slides, as you and I were reviewing it yesterday, was the word alignment. Alignment, alignment, alignment.
The organization um, needs to have three key components, principles, if you will, that they organize around. They need a mission, which is their purpose for existing. That should be fairly permanent unless, they're really abandoning their original premise. The vision, which is a time-bound image of where are we going? What does that future look like that we're all marching towards? And then values or operating system, principles, whatever people want to call them. I like values, but they're sort of like defining the character of like what matters in the way we function every day, like as we operate together, what are the things that are important for us to behave in a certain way that's consistent with how we want to be as an organization. So you take these three things and you define them well, but now you can use them to make sure everybody is aligned to those three things. And that is where, you and I have talked about ceremony as being the tool that we use for alignment. But there's also a lot of other subtle things outside of that. It's just having them top of mind and having people thinking about them all the time, every day, allows you to go, well, wait a minute, something's out of sync here. How does this serve our vision? Or, hey, what you just said seems to go against our values. And so you can call things
Or
out in the moment.
or executives have a vision up here, and when we're working with the teams down here, we have no sense that the teams are aligned with the visions that the executives are actually shooting for. So in a sense, this intentional culture initiative that we're kicking off at Agile and Beyond and that we're working on is to go, no, this is actually what we know how to do, what we've done successfully for decades. Like I was hitting some of the top things yesterday that like I've helped grow the public share price of a company tenfold when this works. I've helped a company get 50% market share in a key product. Uh, it's like when you get the alignment really working, you can accomplish great things. Um, but if you're just working at the team level or you're just doing Scrum, that's almost impossible to do.
We were talking a little bit about speed, and I was saying how, like one of the underlying themes of everything is that the world is just going faster and faster. Technology enables us to do more quickly, and just markets changing more rapidly, and it's just keeping up is such a challenging thing, especially for a large corporation that has thousands of employees that they have to mobilize and turn on a dime. It's an impossible task. And and one way that you can turn quicker is through alignment. Because
Yeah.
if you have the mechanisms for alignment built deep into your organization, then leadership can change their vision, pivot a new strategy, whatever it is, and the mechanisms to propagate that throughout the whole organization are there. And that alignment is what allows you to go fast.
Yeah. To me, like we know there are strategies that actually work really well in really big companies because there are certain alignment strategies that are used in a couple of the biggest and most successful companies in the world. that align all the way top down and bottom back up again. Uh, but we don't need to just use any given strategy. I see dozens of things that we do helping to create and facilitate alignment, right?
Yeah.
Not just the one I was thinking of is of course OKRs,
And you were
but
talking about NVIDIA and Wang's uh, his passion for topologies.
yeah, for him going, one of the founders of NVIDIA saying, look, all of these companies are all doing different things, but if you look at their organizational structure, it's all the same. And he's like, that can't be right. The topologies cannot be the same for all of these different businesses. And one of the reasons he believes they've successfully competed against Intel, which is, if you think about one of the hardest companies in the world to compete against, is Intel.
Where they invented
Uh,
OKRs, by the way.
yeah, like they do alignment in their DNA. So competing against them means probably not just their old alignment strategy is enough. That's why when you and I talk about strategies, we talk about structure, we talk about topologies, we talk about other things that are going to be essential for achieving alignment. And especially as the world moves faster and faster and faster, you probably shouldn't be staring at a topology that looks like every other company when you have a unique business opportunity you're going after. Yeah, so that's gonna be our riff for today. But we thought we'd turn the camera on and live stream some of our thoughts. We're really excited about intentional culture. We're really excited, especially about working potentially with startups that are looking for a next round of funding or even an exit, and they really want to get everything in a row so that they get a good exit or they get a good round of funding, that they get an evaluation. People, one of our slides is like people invest in leadership they believe in. If you've already had a couple of rounds, leadership they believe in is going to be leadership that they see executing and executing well and executing with a plan. Thanks, everybody. Bye.